Marco Silva, Kev, you're obviously very familiar with Everton. So Everton have won 3 of their past 12 league fixtures. They've lost 7. Also knocked out of the FA Cup by Millwall.
Yeah.
A few Everton fans were actually texting in a few weeks ago and saying that defensively from set pieces Everton were in big trouble. Now everybody's talking about it. It's become a massive issue for them. So talk to us about the set piece zonal defence issue, but then just more broadly, say they managed to fix that. Where are Everton? How bad are they at the moment?
Yeah, do you know, you and I, when we spoke over the last couple of years about Marco Silva, while he was manager of Hull or whether he was manager of Watford, we spoke about this before, this set-piece issue that he has. He wants to do the zonal marking system. He conceded 17 of 44 goals at Watford from set-pieces, 14 of 36 at Hull. And it's something that you can see within his side what he does. Now, if anyone can imagine, when you imagine the 18-yard box, the 6-yard box, the width of the goals. So what he'll do, he'll have his best, in his mind, the best 3 headers of the ball along the 6-yard line, the width of the goal. So he'll have one on the near post, one in the centre of the goal, one on the far post. Then what he does, he'll have 2 just in front of that. So it's a block of 5. Usually your next 2 best headers of the ball, and then you've got 2 blockers. Now, essentially, what it looks like what they would have. They might have an Andre Gomez, or they might have an Idrissa Gueye blocking. It looks like they're marking. Essentially, their job is not to mark. So it looks like sometimes you look at it, you go, what was Idrissa Gueye doing marking him? That's not his job. His job is to block. Who would it have been at the weekend? I'm trying to think. So whoever it would be.
So if I'm watching Idrissa Gueye in future and I feel like he's let his man go. He's tried to block him, but
just blocking.
He's not meant to go with him.
His job is simply get a block on him, simply not to go and challenge for the ball or mark him. He's not marking him. And it's a block.
When you're saying, so I get what you're saying about the 3 best headers of the ball stand across the 6-yard box, and then the next 2 best headers are in front of them. Are the 2 blockers in front of them like it's almost like a 3-2-2 formation?
Yeah, it's something like or it could be done differently. You could go 2 blocks of 3, where you have 2 other blockers as well. So you'll have 6 players, 8 players involved in it.
It doesn't sound any more ludicrous than any other zonal marking setup. So why is it not working?
No, it's pretty much a standard zonal marking setup. But the problem being is for Everton, it seems to me that they're not actually working on it. Keith Andrews, when we were on with Keith a few weeks ago, on his show before he
shafted us.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to say that, Joe. I'll leave that for you. Abandoned us. That's what I would say. Yeah. There's 3 ways to do it. Actually, the places you're most vulnerable are near post and far post from zonal marking. Also, the big one, even Keith came straight out the other week. As soon as you take a short corner, as soon as you shift the ball, where is my man? Where's my responsibility? What Everton seemed to do when the ball's shifted, they just seem to run out, try and squeeze the line, it's almost if you're just trying to squeeze. So anyone goes in behind you, you're almost hoping that he's offside. No one's taking responsibility to actually pick up a man and mark a man.
Would you like when a corner goes short that they start taking responsibility?
Without a doubt, you have to take that responsibility.
But that's a bit hard if there's no one near you.
No, but you've at least got to have an eye on.
Yeah.
Look, two of the best headers of the ball are in your vicinity. 2 of the best defenders of the ball are essentially going to be between the width of the goal. That's where the goal's going to be scored. That's where the ball's going to be played into after it gets shifted and gets moved. So they have to take that responsibility to go up against your man. That's the way that I would see it. I think it's the best way. What Everton seem to be doing, it's just squeezing unison together, which it could work, but they concede far too many goals from that, from the ball being shifted or generally balls being played in. You looked at Millwall last week in the FA Cup. They weren't actually great balls being played into the area, but Everton's looked a shambles. They couldn't deal with the first ball, let alone the second ball or the little knockdown that was that had come about in the melee.
Do you like zonal generally?
No, I don't. I don't like.
Did you ever play it?
I did. I've marked zonally, and I've marked predominantly. It would be a semi-zonal system where it would be you might have 2 players. I probably at times in majority of my career quite tall, decent in the air. But they would have said to me, you be a zonal marker. You mark stand on the 6-yard box at the near post.
Yeah.
Anything that goes over your head, a yard or 2, you deal with it. Anything in front of you, go and deal with it.
That strikes me as a good system. Mark their better players especially. And then maybe 1 or 2 decent players, tall players, a bit like yourself, in 1 or 2 key locations where the ball is most likely to go. It's a balance.
I think it's a better balance. I do. If you looked at Rafa Benitez, how he used to do it at Liverpool, it was brilliant. But I think they had...
Why was that brilliant?
But I think they had a really well-organised team, well-organised minds themselves that were able to organise themselves. Sammy Hippier, Jamie Carragher, playing against Jamie Carragher, he just never shut up on a pitch. So you see him on Sky, he's exactly how he was on the pitch. Very, very vocal, very, very demanding of teammates. Those two seem to dominate the 6-yard box. Those two seem to dominate the area that the ball was going into. So they had a great setup that seemed to me, what Benitez had done, it was really well worked on.
Okay.
I honestly don't see Everton as a side that have worked on this system and continuously gone at it for an hour a week or whatever it would be, even 45 minutes a week.
So look, it would strike me that if you're going to play zonal, then you really have to work on it. Whereas there is a certain simplicity saying to a team.
There's definitely accountability.
Do you know what? Mark your men. You and you mark him and him. The rest of you pick up someone vaguely your size and bloody attack the ball.
Yeah.
There's no drills needed for that.
Well, if me and you are going up against each other, I'm marking you, you score, the accountability is on my shoulders.
Yeah.
The referee, the manager comes in at half-time or full-time, Kev, your man got away from you, what were you doing?
Yeah.
So there is that. There's also the fact is that I could get a block. This is why the zonal system has started to come into play. What we've seen tonight with the free kick from Liverpool.
As in, okay, you're marking me and someone blocks you.
Yeah. Someone blocks me, you get a free header.
Yeah.
But I'd still prefer it and have that semi-system where you have a two or three that would have that have the licence to zonal mark. Perhaps two. Certainly go up against the 2 or 3 best headers of the ball from the opposition. Stop them, again, with your best markers.
Yeah.
It might not necessarily be your tallest guys, but certainly your best markers who are decent in the air that can stop the opposition.
From a defensive point of view, what you want to do is just cancel out your best with their best. It's ideal. So let's say, by some miracle, they sort that out. Yeah.
I'm still not seeing anything from them to suggest that they've got a formula, they've got a plan. I don't see it. If you saw the goal at the weekend, Andre Gomes scored a fantastic goal. They get themselves back into it. But they were dominated. Wolves were superior. They were better all over the pitch. And that's been the case for a number of games, particularly at Goodison. The record at Goodison has been awful. They've only won 3 of the last 12 fixtures in general. They've lost 7 of those. At home, though, it's the home form that's killing them, Joe.
They've spent a lot of money.
Unbelievable amount of money. They brought, as I mentioned, Gomes before, brought him in on loan. He's a 40, 50 million pound player. They want to get this deal done. Spent a lot of money over the last 2 or 3 seasons on Pickford, who I don't rate him as highly as perhaps 1 or 2 others rate him.
Right.
Michael Keane struggled. Yerry Mina came in in the summer for 30 million, struggled. Kurt Zouma and Keane look the best partnership, but can you have your real trust in them? No. Seamus Coleman, he's not necessarily reaching the highs that we've seen him in recent seasons. I think he's admitted it himself. Left back's been a problem for them at times. Digny's probably been one of the better players. He was out suspended at the weekend. Leighton Baines came in, struggled. And all over the pitch, they're struggling. Number 9, they're struggling. They've not got a player.
How much of that do you think is some not great recruitment, or how much of that do you think is down to Silva?
Well, it's got to be a bit of both, hasn't it? I think it has to be a bit of both.
And do you think Mashiri is looking at this situation and leaning more towards let's try a new manager?
Well, that's the way that there's a lot of the talk that you look. Certainly, if you're looking at it on the social side of it, the Evertonians are not happy with Silva, the way that he's going about it. Tactically, they're not happy with how he's lining the side up, how he's getting, the lack of creativity and what he's getting out of those players. So it seems to me that I'm not saying that they're necessarily happy with Mashiri, but he certainly put his money where his mouth is. The amount of money he's put into the squad, wages, Joe, wages at that club now has gone up. I mean, I don't know how many, but I'd say they've easily doubled or trebled in the last few seasons.
Right.
Unbelievably. They're paying now well in excess of 100 grand a week for players. That was, Everton were always on a serious budget. Yeah, Sigurdsson, well in excess of 100 grand a week. Schneidlin in excess, who doesn't even get a look in now. Tossen would be another one. Players that's earning serious money there now at Everton, and they're not producing.